Great. Thank you, Maria. Welcome, everybody, to another session with She. She builds, she owns, she invests. She is me. She is you. She's all of us. So thank you so much for being with us. Just a reminder, we are on a mission to help 1 million women create generational wealth through real estate. But not only that, we also want to help you grow on every aspect, personally, professionally, and spiritually. So, welcome, and thank you for being part of this huge movement. We're super excited for today. And let me start sharing my screen to get into this. All right, there it is. Can you see? There you go. All right. Just another reminder, she is brought to you by Massive Capital. And we are live on Facebook. So everybody who is watching on Facebook can join the Zoom. I put the link on the comments so you can join us here. That way you can ask questions directly to our awesome speaker today. And a little bit about Massive Capital, who we are, what we do. So we are a vertically integrated company. We are owners and operators of large multifamily assets. We have properties in Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, and Denver. We also have a sister company called Realty One that specializes on new construction for retail spaces. And we are vertically integrated. We do the construction on metal, wood development. We have a property management company on the triple net asset side. We have a brokerage on the triple net side. And of course, we raise capital. We have an equity team. If you see, and many of us are part of that team. And that's a way that we can help all the amazing women here start investing in real estate. We do not sell anything, but the only ask that we have is like, if you're looking to start investing, if you have questions or about investing either your personal funds or your retirement accounts, just reach out to any of us. We're gonna put the link on the chat. You can book a call with any of us, and we will be more than happy to connect with you. The more we know you, the more we can help you. So yeah, super excited to grow our portfolio with you. It's not about just us growing our portfolio, it's about how we can share this with you. How can we help you achieve your financial goals? So connect with us. That's about Massive Capital. We have one deal actually in San Antonio, 204 units. This is open only for accredited investors. Cash flowing deal. If you want to learn more about this deal, reach out to us. If you're not accredited, or if you're not sure if you're accredited, connect with us, because all the opportunities that we have for non-accredited investors require that we have a relationship. So book a call with us. We're super excited to connect with you. And I mean, these are the deals that we did last year. These guys keep us very busy. But yeah, I think disclaimer, we're not financial advisors. We are not CPAs. Do your own due diligence. Every investment has risk, and all the speakers that we bring, they offer services or products. We do not endorse any of them. However, we bring them because we believe in what they're doing, but do your own due diligence. And that's it. I'm gonna pass it on to you, Maria, because you are gonna introduce our amazing speaker today.
Thank you. Thank you. I do have to start by saying I met Jordan because I'm obsessed with her content. So it's a little bit started from an obsession, but Jordan grew up in Midwest, just outside of Chicago, where she started her career in modeling at the young age of 14. After many years, she decided to transition into the sales side of fashion, where she had a chance to encounter with a mutual friend who was in the mortgage industry. Seeing an opportunity, she decided to take a big risk and move across the country to embark on a new journey. Fortunately, she was hired and dedicated most of her time to her new career, where she learned all she could about finance and home buying process. While engulfing herself in business, she realized she was an overwhelming amount of people were unaware of the products that were available to them when it came to purchasing a home. This triggered her to start her social media account for her business at Nutter Loan, a home loan, and start posting about everything someone would need to know about the home buying process. Since that day, back in October 2021, she has over 270,000 followers and like a million loves and likes on TikTok. And she's helped thousands of individuals make better financial decisions in their lives. And recently, she has taken to the road to teach financial literacy to the next generation of buyers. Jordan, we are so excited to have you here today.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me, and I'm looking forward to speaking with all of you and hopefully answering some questions and bringing some insight and knowledge to help better everyone on this call today.
So, well, go ahead, Jasmine. Go ahead.
No, yeah, super excited to have you, Jordan. So let's get started on how did you went from model fashion shows to real estate. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I was in the fashion industry for quite a few years. I would say probably 11 years, and I got burned out, so I went over to the retail, well, I shouldn't say retail, the wholesale side. So I would get into sales, and I sold big brands to like Macy's and Nordstrom and Saks and stores like that, which brought me a lot of joy, and I learned a lot about sales during my time in that kind of world. And I actually was traveling a lot to meet all of these buyers, and I was in Atlanta for a show. And there was somebody who was a friend of a friend that I ran into, and they were in the mortgage industry. And they had told me, you know, kind of where they were going with their career, what they had done. And I was in this transitional period of my life where I wanted to do something a little bit more fulfilling. And that's when I kind of took a leap of faith and was like, hey, will you take a chance on me? I know I've never bought a home. I've never, I've very few people that I knew at the time owned a home and had a mortgage. So thankfully, they did take a chance, and I was able to move across the country to Atlanta, and I was able to really kick my career off just prior to when COVID hit. And since then, it's been almost 5 years, and I've learned so much, and I've been able to meet amazing people and help so many families. It's been probably the best decision I could have made with my career transitioning.
I love that we have a very similar stories because I my background is on sales, and I can never stress enough about telling people how important it is to work on your skill set, because sales you will use them on every industry, any company, any business. So that's something that you can take anywhere. So I'm glad that you that's actually what got me into real estate as well. My sales background. They told me we're gonna teach you everything about real estate. You just need to talk to investors and close the sales. And once you learn sales, it's pretty much the same process, just in different industries and different products. But now tell us a little bit about what does financial literacy looks like.
So, financial literacy looks like more people having the knowledge of how to properly take care of their finances. And this isn't just in the world of real estate per se. For instance, I was in Virginia a couple weeks ago speaking to a high school, And it was primarily based around credit in general. So how to avoid getting yourself into massive amounts of debt, because when you graduate and you go to college and they try to bombard you with all the credit cards, and just because your limit is $1,000 doesn't mean you have to hit the $1,000 limit. It means don't go anywhere near that in an ideal situation. So just being able to have a better understanding of how to properly handle your finances, whether it's on a credit aspect, it's going into some sort of purchase, whether it is a home, it is a car, it could be a number of things that we all deal with on a daily basis. And as adults, we have to kind of embark on. And so having that understanding, and I think being able to instill that at a younger age is really important, especially because there are a lot of people that I meet that are first-time homebuyers specifically, that have parents and or grandparents that have a very different idea of how to purchase a home, and what they had to do is very different than what you have to do now. Same with credit. It's very different. The credit system is a fairly new system in the US. It's not something that's hundreds of years old. So just being able to understand, even if it's not fully, but having a basic understanding so you don't get yourself into trouble financially, whether it's with your credit or going into huge amounts of debt, or being able to just not afford the financial obligations that you took on.
I love that you said that, because I feel like some of your videos, I wonder how many times you get this, where they say, well, when my parents bought a house, or that's not what they had to do when they bought a house.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. It's always when my parents, or when I get the parents on the phone, and it's like, that's not how it was when I purchased. And I understand that. And I'm in my 30s. When my parents bought a home, I don't know, 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago, it was very different than it is now. And even when their parents bought a home. So it's these different generations that went through very different requirements to get into a home. And it's just interesting because that's the only, as a first time home buyer, that's really the only place that you have in your sphere of, where do I go to get advice? It's your parents or your grandparents, unless you really do hang out with maybe an older crowd, or you have different family members that have gone through that purchase recently. Outside of that, you have to look at social media and find people that you really trust and can confide in, and understand that they are putting out information to better you, and they're not doing it just to make a dollar. So
Right.
it is very
Comes to
different.
social media.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now, where did you first see failing in our financial literacy?
So when I got into, because mind you, I had never owned a home at that point when I got into the mortgage world. So I really didn't have an understanding of how bad it was until I started working with people, because you have to think, I moved to the South, and the South, understandably so, is very particular. They're very local. They want to work with local people. I had to change my number to a Georgia number. And I also had agents that they were like, who is this girl who knows nothing about mortgages, and she just wants me to give her my clients? So I worked with a lot of their clients that were not A buyers. They were the credit challenged or the first time home buyers. And by getting my foot in the door, which I'm very fortunate now that I look back, at the time, I was like, oh, why don't you give me the 820% down buyers? And I'm really glad that they didn't, because I was able to learn so much and help so many people understand what was going on and how to navigate credit. So just that first year of getting the not the A buyers, I was able to have a better understanding and see really what issues were out there when it came to purchasing a home, and just financial literacy on the basic level.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think it's just So important. And I'm glad you took the route that wasn't the easiest and using those challenges to get you to where you are today. It's amazing. What gave you the courage to go remote? Because you are in an RV right now. And I know that not many people know this unless you us
Yeah,
talk
tell
about
us
it.
the story and
Because
tell us where
I
you're
mean, she
going
did
and
take off her
how.
background earlier. She is
I
literally
did.
in her RV right now.
I am. If I took the background, you guys would all see that I am sitting in the passenger seat, which is my office, because there's no glove box in the RV. It is a pull-out desk, and that's where my screen is currently. So it's funny. My husband and I had moved to California for a brief moment at the end of 21. And when we were looking to come back to Georgia, we were like, okay, well, there's a lot of people I've done business with, a lot of buyers that I've helped across the country. I'd like to stop and see them. I like to stop and see these agents that I never get to meet. And that snowballed into, well, if we're going to stop in these places, I'd really like to try and educate and help as many as I could. So whether that's homebuyer seminars, it's going to high schools or colleges, it's going to real estate agents and their teams and talking to them about how can they better their community and educate them more. So it really did snowball into this massive tour, I guess you could call it. And the that's the reason that prompted it was the move. But then from there, it really just escalated into this huge thing to where we bought a 36-foot motorhome, and we moved in here, and we've been traveling. Currently, we're in Columbus, Ohio, and we started in Los Angeles, California, went all the way down to Key West, went all the way up the East Coast, and now we're in Columbus, Ohio in the matter of like 80 something days. So it's been an adventure, but it was really important to me to try to bring as much financial literacy as I could. And I've been very fortunate to work with some really amazing communities, churches, high schools, just all of the things, nonprofits. It's been really, really fulfilling and amazing.
I love that. Just pursuing your your purpose and having the courage to just leave everything behind and take the leap of faith, and having your husband, alongside, supporting you. That's amazing. So how do you start booking ahead of where you going next, and do you reach out to, I guess, the school? You mentioned schools and uh, real estate agents and all that, but how do you break into, because sometimes it's hard for them to open the door, and how do you break into them for allow you to speak and give you all these opportunities?
Thankfully, I have a pretty nice following on social media. So that's been good to kind of, advocate, hey, this is who I am. I'm not just some random person on just coming up from the middle of nowhere wanting to speak and I don't know what I'm talking about. So that's been really great to help, show who it is that I am. And then outside of that, we also fully branded the bus. So it literally looks like a walking billboard. It's a little much at times. Like there's literally while I'm on the phone, there's people driving in front and they're just like, what is happening over there? Because there's no buses that are like that. And so those two things have really helped. And then I've also partnered up with a nonprofit, which is called First Home IQ. And their entire mission is to bring financial literacy to Gen Z. And so those three things collectively have really helped to be able to have those conversations with other nonprofits or churches, community centers, a number of places that would probably be difficult. And not to say that it's been easy, because there's still that, libraries, just in case you ever wanted to speak at a library, anybody in this room, 2 months minimum in advance, you need to reach out to most libraries. So just as a heads up, because they put their calendars out the month before, and not like that's once it's up, it's up. You can't change it. That's how it is in the libraries. And this is like all across the country. So that was something I had to learn. but the schools were another thing, coming in and speaking, and it's the end of the school year, so that's hard because everyone's testing and they're getting ready to be done. So it depends on the day that you ask me. Some days it's fun navigating it, and sometimes it's just very taxing. So yeah.
Oh, I can only imagine. I know Candace put a picture of your bus in the chat. So it's not really, I call it a bus because it's huge, your RV. So if you want to see it, it is awesome. She also has a video on TikTok and Instagram that shows her standing on it, which is even cooler. But now, Jordan, I know you work with everyone and mostly Gen Z, but we help women. And that's why we're here. We help women we help them grow personally, professionally, and spiritually. So, what are some steps that women can take to become more financially independent?
I always, I'll go back to there's this story I had with a borrower, and she was not married. She had a significant other, and she was purchasing the home. She had all of the credit, all of the money, all of the income. She had all of it. And she was very adamant on putting her significant other on said loan, even though there was no contribution at all. And this was a very new, let me just preface by saying it was a newer relationship. And I said, hey, let's just go ahead and do this in your name. And it wasn't, it's not a community property state, which they weren't married, so it wouldn't matter. But I said, let's do it in your name. And if you feel the same way in 6 months, I'll talk to the title company. We'll put your significant other on there. 3 months later, she called me crying and said, thank you so much, because he was not the person I thought he was, so on and so forth. And I am so sad that she was going through that. And then at the same time, I was very happy that she listened to me. And I think it's really important that when you are trying to go into areas that maybe scare you a little bit, like purchasing a home or purchasing a car or opening a 401k or an IRA or anything that you're not 100% confident about, I always want to recommend find somebody or a couple people that you trust that know that field and have an understanding as to why they are telling you the things that they're telling you. Because if we can all get an understanding. If somebody's telling us certain things and it doesn't feel right, they're probably doing it to make money. And if it does feel right, then they're probably doing it out of the kindness of their heart. So just making sure that you really do take into account that if you're not familiar with an area that you're trying to go into, find somebody or a couple people that you can really lean into and help you understand it better. And outside of that, I have always grown up as being a very independent person. My mom, even though they're still married to this day, was always like, we need to make sure when you grow up and you move out, we don't want you. It's great if you get married. That's if you want to do that, but make sure that you can always, at the end of the day, rely on you. Because at the end of it, that's really, we can have kids, we can have a significant other, but at the end of the day, it always is us. That's our biggest advocate that will be there till the end of time with us. And so just remember that if you do go into a relationship or anything to where, hey, I don't financially need to be obligated for anything, or I don't need to work, that doesn't mean not to just throw everything out not stop reading books and educating yourself and learning finance or learning something to better yourself and spiritually, financially, mentally in some capacity. So not saying there's anything wrong with that. I very much rely on my husband. He is the chef, the nanny, the driver, the mechanic, all of the things. I don't even know. The whole list, the whole back of the house stuff. That's what he is. So I very much do rely on him. But I always have a soft spot when I see couples and the woman is like, oh yeah, I don't have any credit. I don't have any income. I don't have any savings. And I'm like, can we work on doing something? Can we get a small credit card? Can we, we don't have to be anything crazy, just something small. Just, you never know. Life happens. Not that we ever want it to go bad, but you just don't know. So just keep in mind that you are your biggest advocate, and don't stop fighting for yourself to be better.
I love it, because we always say, like, it doesn't matter who your husband is, or your husband is gonna be your dad. Like, we need to take responsibility for our financial future, and just educating ourselves. It's so easy to pass on the ball to either a spouse, a partner, or just business partners. Like, oh, they are the numbers guys, and I'm guilty of that. Like, oh, I'm not a numbers person, so. And it's like, no, I need to take full responsibility. Like, most of us are investing in multifamily real estate, and just like do our own job, or getting into the weeds of the numbers. We're bringing investors, so our face goes first. We are the face, and we need to make sure that we are partnering up with the right people, but also taking responsibility. Everything boils down to taking responsibility on educating ourselves and take control of our finances. Now we're gonna switch gears a little bit, right, Maria? Let's get into the branding. I know you talk about, we saw the RV on the chat. It's super cool. Everybody saw it. Super cool. Yeah, we need one for she.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Just with my face, right? Is that what you were
There you
saying?
go.
Each of us in one side. That'll be amazing. But let's get into the branding side. How important is to build your brand, to put yourself out there. For some people, it's super easy. Just jump in the camera, and you do an amazing job. If you guys haven't followed her on TikTok, follow her, because her content is amazing. But this is not for everybody, right? But what advices would you give to women who are looking to start building their brand, or just grow their brand?
Uh, Above anything else, and I say this every time I speak to a group about branding and getting yourself out there, is be authentic. If you don't take anything else from me other than that when it comes to branding, it's being authentic, because the last thing you want is to build this brand that isn't truly what you believe in and who you are, and you have a client call you up, and either you do a horrible job because it's just not what you like to do, you don't enjoy it, or you built this brand where it's attracting a certain type of clientele that you don't necessarily want to work with, and now you kind of have to, because that's the brand that you built. So always be authentic. I know it's very hard to put yourself out there, and a lot of people laugh when I say that, because they're like, oh, well, Jordan, it's so easy for you because it's easy. You just go on the camera and you do this. And I've been at this for 2.5 years though. So this is not something I just started yesterday. I can promise you, I can promise you that when I opened TikTok, because I did have it before I started, not to film anything, literally just to scroll. And I had to go to my assistant's 9-year-old daughter and ask her how to add text to the video screen and then take it off, because I had no idea how people would let it pop up and then go away. And she's like, this one, and then this one, and then that's it. I'm like, great. I'm so glad that a 9-year-old just schooled me on how to post on social media. I've been on Facebook since longer than you've been alive, but okay, I'm glad. So not being afraid to go out there and learn something new. It's scary. I understand that. It was very scary for me. But there are so many accounts out there that you could say how to make a TikTok, how to do this, how to do that, how to put a hook on there, how to do good storytelling, how to start a video. And there are accounts that are solely based around how to do specific aspects of creating content, which at that time, TikTok didn't have. TikTok was dancing around, which there's still that, but not as much. And so being authentic, not being afraid to go and do the research and look at different creators. How do they create their content? And then also, which generally is the hardest thing to get over, is to not overthink it. I can promise you, I've probably deleted it because I only have so much storage on my phone at this point. I would film one video and it would take me like 30 to 45 minutes to film like 1 2-minute video because I would film it so many times. And oh, my hair was off, or my glasses were smudged, or the light was wrong. And I wasted so much time because I was so worried about what other people were thinking about me. And then at the end of the day, I said, you know what? I'm not putting this content out there because I care what my hair looks like, or that, it's not in the right place, or my shirt was disheveled or a little bit. So I'm putting the content out there to try and help educate somebody. I want them to learn something. And if I have somebody comment that my makeup was wrong, or I had a booger in my nose, or my glasses were smudged, that's not the audience. And still to this day, I get it. I promise you. At 275,000 followers, I still get that to this day. And I'm just like, then that's not my people. That's not the people that I'm here for. That's okay though. Everybody has their opinion, and that's okay. So just don't overthink it. Be authentic. Don't be afraid to do some research and put yourself out there, and don't overthink it.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I sent a video to you to get you to be on this show, and I filmed it 4, 5, 6, 7 times before I submitted it just to you. So yeah, I'm at fault on that one.
But that video was great, and I wouldn't have known that you filmed it 5 or 6 times. And nobody's going to know online if you filmed a video 5 or 6 times. At the end of the day, if you're being authentic, you're putting good information out there, you care about what you're talking about, it doesn't matter, how many times you film it. Just put it out there, and it's okay. If nobody likes it, nobody likes it. But I bet you if I keep putting this content out there and I'm consistent with it, my community is going to find me. They are going to find me.
Oh, that's so true. Such a great way to segue. If anyone has any questions for Jordan, you are more than welcome to put them in the chat, or raise your hand and come off mute. We'd love to hear you speak. If not, I'm going to keep going because I got lots more. Jordan, how many people have you gotten from your social media? Like, how many people have come to you for mortgage lending advice? I mean, they trust you based on what they've seen. Like, how many people just come to you just from TikTok?
So that's a slightly difficult question to answer.
Yeah.
I started, so there's a form that people can fill out if they're looking to do an application kind of right at that moment. And since I started tracking, which is 2 years, 25 months ago, it's been 4,000 that have reached out. That doesn't include like the instant messages or the people that have, like, you used to be able to get on my calendar Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I could never get anything done. So now there's like 3 hours, 2 days a week that you can try to schedule a call. So I would say conservatively, probably at least 5,000 people in the last 2 years.
Oh my gosh. That is awesome. That's awesome.
It's been fun.
I mean, for all of us who are raising capital, I mean, just to get 5,000 people to want to talk to us, that's huge. That would be amazing. Okay, we've got some questions. What programs do you use? What resources can you share? And how do we leverage your wisdom? Oh, man.
So programs that I use and resources that I can share. I'm assuming you're referring to like when I make content and like what goes into that. So I use obviously TikTok. That's going to be my main platform. I like to film directly in the app because it it's so great. It's very user friendly now. They've upgraded it because they partnered with CapCut. So the way that you can edit videos in there is so seamless and very easy. And you can also download it before you post it, and it doesn't have a watermark, which is great. So you can repurpose these videos on all of the other platforms. So I really, really like TikTok in general for that. Now, when it comes to editing my videos, for example, when I go speak somewhere and I have an hour-long video, there's no way I'm posting that entire thing. So I use what's called CapCut. So I will CapCut. So I use CapCut and it's free. They do have a free version of it. You can pay for it. I've never paid for it and I use it just fine. But CapCut is really great because if you have a long video and you want to just get maybe like a 60-second snippet from it, it's really, really user friendly. Or if you're like me, I don't like to really script things. I'm not good at memorizing. So I will film myself and I'll put it on and I'll do one sentence and I'll stop it and I'll think of my next sentence and I'll start filming and I do the next sentence and I stop it and I'll have like, let's just say 10 clips. So I have 10 sentences, 10 clips. And then what I do is I put them all in CapCut and I just cut the beginning off and I cut the ends off of them, all that, I call it dead space. And it looks like this seamless video. It's really great. So CapCut's really wonderful. So I would highly recommend getting it. And also, if you are making content, especially video content, I would recommend batching, which essentially means you pick a day or a couple days out of the week and where you feel like you're going to be uninterrupted and you just block out on your calendar time to batch film. So for me, it's Sunday afternoons. Normally nobody's calling me late afternoons. So I normally schedule 2 to 4 hours of just straight filming and editing and it gives me enough for like 2 weeks. So that's how I do it.
Even when you have conversations with your prospective people, you do them all back and forth. You don't do them all like one side.
So what I'll do is because I have outfits. So I'll have
Right.
two, let's say it's myself and the borrower. So I'll film, let's say myself in this, and I'll do all of me. And I'll also put a placeholder for the borrower. So I'll say, for example, hey, Mary, it's Jordan. What's going on? I got your email. And then I stop it. And then I start it again. And I'll just put like a piece of paper. I'll put my hand up there to know that I need to refilm this part. And I'll be like, hey, we have a problem. I quit my job. And then I stop it and I film. So I do everything all in one outfit. And then I switch my shirt out and I already know what I said.
Right.
Because I have that placeholder. I just have to now film it as the borrower. So I film it all in one sitting at one time. And it makes it much, much easier. I used to literally film me, switch my shirt, film the borrower, switch my shirt, film me. And I'm like, there has to be an easier way for this. This is taking way too long.
Oh my goodness. I love that. And I do think we were wrong. So how do we what programs are you using for mortgage lending and teaching financial literacy?
Okay, so for mortgage lending, essentially I do lending on anything residential. So I don't do commercial, I don't do any sort of like raw land, and I don't do construction to perm. So outside of that, I could do multifamily. I work with down payment assistance on a national level, and then we have partnerships with not every state in the US, but most states in the US. We have partnerships for down payment assistance and different grant programs. And then we do offer just like our in-house, like we have our in-house credit specialist that will help out, and it's free of charge if we have anyone that's like really, really struggling with their credit and they don't have the funds to pay somebody like a credit company to work on it every month. At this point, I've gained enough knowledge where they don't have to go through that, and I can advise them myself. But if it's very rare that I have somebody who's really that down with their credit where we have to send them off to that department. But yeah, so we do offer that. So yeah, down payment assistance, state funded down payment assistance, bank statement loans. I have a ton of DSCR loans. So I think I have 10 investors for DSCR. No income loans. So we use asset based for those. So yeah, so we're a direct lender. So we're not technically a broker, but we do have a ton of non-QM programs that we broker out.
All right. So before we got on this call, we were talking about your last podcast that you were on and what your favorite story and video that you've created was. And now I have to ask because now I need to know.
So this was not actually my story. It was a previous coworker story that she shared with me. And I was like, there's no way, because this was very early in my career. I was like, there's no way. And she goes, no, I can show you the file. It very much is a thing. Essentially, the short version is the borrower had the funds. She was by herself on this loan, and she kept calling into a psychic to get the answer as to whether or not she should be purchasing this home. And she kept calling and she kept calling to where we went to update her assets and they were all gone. It was almost $30,000 that she spent on a psychic to figure out whether or not she should get the home. She couldn't buy the house at that point, obviously, because she spent all of the money. So that was a story that it blew my mind when she told me. And that story went, like, it got press internationally to where people just were mind blown that something like that actually would happen.
I can't believe it. I'm going to have to go find that one again because it was a good one.
It was, yeah. She asked me that a couple weeks ago on the podcast, and I was like, this was the one. This was the one that nobody ever believes.
Well, I mean, advice where you trust, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
We also had another question from Casey. She said she's not sure if this is the right kind of question, but I've never bought a home and found a commercial property. I'm interested in investing in it. Would you recommend buying a home first, or basically buying the commercial real estate without a portfolio? Her credit, she said, is good.
So I am not familiar because I've never been in the commercial space. So I'm not sure what that looks like when it comes to credit, if you're opening it like an LLC and doing it through a business, or how is that really working? When it comes to the residential, we do look, if you are trying to benefit from any sort of first-time homebuyer programs or incentives, we do take a look at any ownership. So we do have to do a search. I've never actually had somebody who's owned a commercial property before purchasing a home. I've had plenty of people that are on their parents' homes and they didn't realize that was going to disqualify them from being able to take advantage of those first-time homebuyer incentives. So I would actually, that's a question I don't fully have the answer for you. I'm so sorry.
I would like to jump in and just share my personal experience. Again, we're not legal advisors or CPAs, none of that, but I'll share my personal experience. So I have over 1,600 units on multifamily, but I personally don't own a home. And the reason why I haven't bought a home, it's because I want to have enough cash flow from these assets that pay for the mortgage. I don't want to be working to pay for the mortgage. So I want all the cash flow. I first want to build my portfolio on real estate so the mortgage is taken care of, and my life and all the expenses. So that's the way I look at it. And so many of my mentors share, like, don't buy a house first, build your portfolio. I remember when I was just saving money because I was like, wanted to open a business. But then at one point, I was like, I had $45,000 in my bank account, and I'm like, this is enough to either open a business, buy a house, do something with my life. And I was very frustrated because I didn't know what to do. But I started exploring the investing, and to me, if you guys were with last week with Sharon Lecker, how it's important to build on your assets and not on your liabilities. So that's the way I approach it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. Everybody's in different situations, different positions. But to me, it's like, let me build my assets. I want to put my money to work for me. Then that those assets are gonna pay for the home, the car, and all the things that are not building more money, are just taking money away from your pocket. So that's the way I did it. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but that's what I believe.
And just to add, if you buy a commercial real estate or a home, it's better than giving it to the psychic.
Yes, 100%.
Oh, that's true. I was not taught to invest before I bought a home, so I bought a home first, because that's what my parents told me to do. Because I fell into that one. All right. Any other questions in the chat? Is anyone else seeing anyone's? But yeah, it's good.
If anybody wants to ask questions directly, this is the last minute. Then we're gonna go to some announcements really quick, and then go to breakout rooms. Whoever wants to stay and hang out, you're more than welcome. Whoever wants to drop off at 7, you're free and good to go. We appreciate everybody. But any other questions before we go to announcements? No. Okay, well, let's go. In Houston, we're gonna have a hackathon or master's class where we're gonna talk about asset management. I always tell you can have the best property, the best location, the best loan, but if you don't have a strong asset management team, the property can go south anytime. So we're gonna talk about that here in Houston on the 18th at Rice University. We're super excited to partner up with Rice University. If you're in Houston, let us know so you can join us. And then on the 19th, we're gonna have a she brunch. All the ladies here in Houston, we're gonna come together and have our she brunch to connect with each other and just break bread. So that'll be a great another opportunity. And what other? I think that's it, right? That's the only two events that. Oh, sorry. This Friday, for everybody who's not in Houston, we have the virtual conference. Everybody can join. We're gonna talk about multifamily. All the leaders in the industry are gonna be speaking, so join us. We're gonna put the link on the chat if you haven't registered. Be sure to register. It's gonna be all day. If you can join all day, just be sure to join the sessions that you can, and invite other friends. You're gonna get massive value and also opportunity to connect with leaders in the industry, like-minded people. So that's it. All right, we have the link on the chat. Anything else?
I just want to thank everyone for coming tonight. If you're able to stay out for breakout rooms, we'd love to have you. Jordan, it has been a pleasure to talk and pick your brain and hear about how you're changing the world in financial literacy. And I hope that we can maybe connect with you, maybe on a TikTok, if we can get our TikTok going up. That would be really exciting. It was awesome hearing you talk. Thank you so much.
Of course. I appreciate all of you having me. This has been so wonderful. I hope that I was able to bring some value this evening, and I'm so excited to see all of the wonderful and amazing things that you ladies continue to do.
Yes, I'm hoping that I can catch Jordan when she comes to Indiana for our indie brunch, and hopefully she can be in person.
That would be fun.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. And Jasmine, do you have breakout rooms ready?
Yes, they're ready. So I'm gonna start everybody. Thank you so much, Jordan. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Yes.
We'll be in touch.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.